Good afternoon, everyone. Today is September 12th, and it's the Elementary School Building Committee. The first thing I need to do, since we're conducting this virtually, is make sure all the members of the committee can hear and we can hear them. So I'll just call out your names as I see them on the screen, and if and when others join us, I will do the same to make sure we can hear them. Michael Gallo.
I can hear you.
Jennifer.
Hey there.
Hi, Tammy.
Here, thank you.
Great. Jonathan.
Good morning or afternoon.
Paul.
Present.
Simone.
Here.
Deb. I'll come back to Deb. Angelica.
Here.
And Alicia.
Here.
Okay. What I want to do, Ksenia can put the agenda up, although it's a pretty simple agenda. It's a construction update, FF&E update, and a focus on the playground, what we've learned since the last time and what we want to do moving forward. And a few people have told me they have a limited time here today. So unless anyone objects, I'd like to start with the playground surface discussion and then go to the construction update, FF&E, and invoices. Hopefully we'll continue, when we get to invoices, we'll continue to have a quorum. Is that all right for everyone in the committee to just reverse the agenda? Anyone can. Okay, thumbs up. Great, great. So that is the plan then. So I am not, we have two Tim Cookers, but I recognize Donna. So, hi, Donna. That's all right.
I can't rename myself. Oh, now I can.
Way
All
up
right.
in the corner.
Nice to see you.
No, that's fine. So what I think we'll do is have Margaret lead off this discussion based on the memo she sent everyone, which was also she met with the DNISCO team, and she's also been doing some of the back. Yes?
Kathy, was that the first thing on the agenda?
No, I just asked if it's okay for everyone to reverse the order, Margaret,
Because of the order. Got it.
because
Sure.
of the order. So at least one person has said they only have an hour, so I didn't want to run out of time on that item to make sure we covered it. So yes, it's the third item on the agenda. You are completely correct. It's not the first. So if that's okay with you, Margaret, I didn't
Totally
see any
fine.
objections. So Margaret has been doing both background phone calls and discussions with people, including suppliers, but she's also met with the DNESCO team and with Bob Parent. And Bob, on behalf of our committee, but also the town, since DNISCO is not including, the DNISCO team has not included Corkeen in their scope of work. Bob has been our person doing further explorations of Corkeen, and with can we get it to the point that we at least know whether we have suppliers. So then I'll have Bob do a report on those conversations and where they are at this point. So Margaret, you first.
I see Deb has her hand up.
Oh, Deb, I called on you, but I didn't hear your response. Are you there and able to hear us?
Hear me, Kathy?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Hey, great. I point of order, I just wonder if we're going to do a vote on the playground, if it makes sense to do, if we're scrambling the agenda, if it makes sense to do public comment first. It doesn't make sense to have public comment after we've already voted.
Deb, we have always done public comments at the end, and I'm not prepared to move them.
Oh, okay.
And in terms of vote, I think we're talking about the next step forward. So whether we reach a conclusion on what surface today or not, I'm not pressing for that. I want to hear what we know at this point, and we've still got some time. Okay, so everyone knows the time. And one person who's not with us, Bruce Caldham, has made some phone calls, and he asked if he doesn't have, and he got more material, but he hasn't had time to review it. So in any case, I'll report on that after we hear from Margaret and then Bob. Margaret.
Yeah, and my report here is very brief and it's summarized in the memo, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time presenting on this. And I also want to recognize that Bob has done the majority of the legwork here, so I think we should have Bob chime in after I speak. But we've continued to research Joaquin. It's been a challenge. The installers that have been offered have changed multiple times. I have kind of lost count on how many installers have been offered by Ameren and changed. I think the Ameren people are, very enthusiastic about the American market, but they do not seem to have their act together at all, particularly for public construction. They don't understand what's required for public construction. So, we've continued to see issues with finding an installer. We've got some new ones as of last week. There was the situation in Eastham, which we're very hopeful about, and the installation failed pretty miserably. They're in the process of correcting that. So I think there are still a lot of flags on the issue, in short. Bob, do you want to add anything to that?
Certainly, if you'd like, Kathy, if you'd like me to pick things up at this point.
Yeah, let me just say a couple words about, we did some background work, but then I'm turning it over to Bob. I want to know that people to know that we did some work to say what else is out there, because we were down to engineered wood fiber, poured in place rubber with a partial hybrid for corkine, and then some other things have been suggested, such as bonded engineered wood fiber. So I did some work, and then Margaret made some phone calls, and the companies that did provide that have discontinued it because the bonding that they put on top of it hardened to the extent that it was no longer resilient. And I got in touch with the people who wrote the original Lowell report that references and asked them, exactly, do they know suppliers? Do they know anyone? And they named one of the companies that we had found. And so I let them know they're not doing it anymore because we talked directly to that company. So that, as far as we know, is not an option. That's why it's not listed in the memo that Margaret prepared on what kind of choices we're facing. So I just want to know that there's been a fair amount of calling around trying to find out what alternatives we have. And Bruce's email that came in this morning to me was he's talked to a landscape architecture firm who has some other kinds of substance and sent him a bunch of information, but Bruce is driving a car and has not read any of it. So that's what he knows. It's something that installs on top of EWF to make it more long lasting, but we don't know yet what, if anything, that might be. So I just want to report on where that is as of September 20th. And I forwarded that to Tim this morning and Danisco they're not aware of what this might be. So Bruce wasn't saying he knows of something. He was just saying he's got a bunch of references. So Bob, you're on for Corkine.
Certainly. So what I'd like to do is try to bring the building committee up to date in terms of discussions I've had, and put those discussions sort of in context relative to Corkine. So first, I think to understand this process and evaluation, folks should understand that there is a material supplier, which is Ameren, and there are material installers. And in some cases, there may be distributors of the material. The material supplier is Ameren. They're an international company. They pioneered this application of their cork product. They sell all different types of cork product. They are the party that sells the product, and they will warranty the product, but not the installation. And the installation, nor will they hold a contract with the town. They will have a supplier purchaser relationship with the installer, but they will have no direct contractual relationship with the town. The installer is the party that will have the contractual relationship with the town and ultimately the obligations legally with the town. So over the past month since our last meeting, I finally have gotten some responses to two potential installers of the product. One of them I had mentioned previously, I think maybe not the name of them, but I have been speaking with a gentleman named Mike Blumel. And Blumel is a Milwaukee, Wisconsin-based firm. They are in the surfacing and playground business. They install their playgrounds under the, install their surfacing under the name Meek, MEAK surfacing. And Mike did respond to me about a week and a half ago with the information that I ultimately have been looking for, and that was budget pricing for an installed system and a confirmation that they would be able to live up to all of the town's contractual terms and provide the performance warranty and performance bond and the payment bond that would be required for the project. And Mike confirmed that and confirmed that the work could be done within the budget that we have in place. Um, I then actually, and Mike was the most interesting person I spoke with because he has experience as a hands-on installer with both rubber poured and place surfacing as well as the Corkine product. And he was the gentleman that made a point that the product is a fussier product to install than the rubber product that he has much more experience installing. And he was the one that had raised the concerns regarding temperature and timing of the installation. So I felt he was a very credible individual to get information from, given that he has firsthand experience working with both products. But he can deliver the product to Amherst for a price that's within the budget and would be willing to sign a contract with the town to do so. Um, More recently, I did finally receive an affirmation from a company called Cork and More Distributors. I started discussing this project with them back in February. And at that point, they were just what their name suggested, which is distributors of product. They were not the installers. They have now have the ability, from what they've told me, to enter into a contract with the town for the installation, and they have access to crews that are certified by Ameren to conduct the installation. So they would be willing to enter into a contract and bid for the installation. Um, so it does appear that and they are a Dallas, Texas-based firm. So it does appear that we have two firms that have the capabilities, that have the access to certified, trained crews, from what they tell us, that could do the work within the project budget. Um, the warranty piece of it is a little more interesting because one of the responses I got recently from the Cork and More distributor was that the product would be warranted for 5 years, which is the Cork product itself by Ameren, but the installation would only be warranted for 1 year. That's different than the typical warranty requirements that are used for rubber poured in place material, where the requirements are typically to warranty the materials and the workmanship for 5 years, the complete product, not just the manufacturer warranting the material and another party warranting the installation for a shorter period of time. Um, so that's what I have to add. As I said, there are two people out there that appear willing to respond to something if and when we put it on the street. Um, with again an understanding that at least one of those parties would only be willing to warranty it for a year, at least warranty the installation. And as we've learned from the Easton experience, that most likely was an installation problem. So getting a 5-year warranty on the installation, I would think, is particularly important.
So opening up for comments, questions, anything of, go ahead, Mike. And I'll just call it, and the hands go up, I'll call on you.
Thank you. So Bob, the 1-year warranty, that was from the Texas company? Was the warranty from the Wisconsin company offered?
That's a little bit fuzzier. They had promised to give me an updated warranty language, and I haven't yet received that. They didn't appeared to object to the 5 year for the whole product. And when I had verbal discussions with Mike Blumell, he said, yeah, that's standard. We warranty what we do for 5 years, but I haven't yet seen anything in writing from them. And, the reality right now, this is just conversation. What really matters is when we procure this material, when we execute a contract, what we're able to ultimately get written into that contract.
Yeah. And do you know if their contractor, if it will be somebody local or will be based in Wisconsin? So if we do have to have a fix, it's going to require them coming out from Wisconsin.
We're not aware of there being any local crews that perform this work. Where those crews are based, whether they're based in Dallas or based in Wisconsin, I think, again, in the case of Mike Blumels, who has been doing this type of work for years, first in Port and Place and now in the Corkine product, I would imagine those are based in Wisconsin. With the case of Cork and Moore, I'm not quite as sure, because when I first having the discussion with the gentleman, Jacob Robertson, back in February, he wasn't even certain where his company fit into this process and who would actually execute the contract. So it seems like, again, that Amarin trains and certifies crews and labor, and somehow those are made available to installers, but I don't know where that labor is physically based, other than I don't believe it's local.
Okay, and one last question. Do we know how many installations Mike Blumel has overseen?
I don't. I know when I spoke with him, he said that this would be one of the larger, if not the largest, installation that he has installed. We're just under 14,000 square feet, 13,490 square feet. So it would be maybe not a stretch for him, but certainly something bigger than what he has done in the past.
Okay.
And I did ask Ameren when I started the discussion with the president of Ameren several months ago, Bob Formerlo. I specifically said, can you provide me with an installation list? And I've yet to receive that information, because I think that's a very good question. Where, how big, try to get some idea of, yes, we have lots of experience, but what does that really mean within the USA? I honestly don't know at this moment.
The installation in Wisconsin would make me feel better comparing that to us rather than Texas, but yeah.
Kidding. Yeah, same here, Mike.
So I see that Allison has joined us. Allison, I just want to make sure you can hear us and we can hear you. And thanks for joining.
I can't. I'm very temporarily here, but I wanted to try.
Yeah, we flipped the agenda, so we're focused on the playground first. I knew you were going to be short on time. Tammy.
So I have several concerns. One being, if we do end up going with Corkine, how fast would the company be able to come and fix the product? And I'm also worried about the longevity of it, including long-term accessibility, especially if they're only offering a 5 year warranty on something that's going to be 50 plus years. And I am also concerned that it's really only two businesses or installers, because I wonder about their own longevity and if in fact, after so many years, they will stop to exist. And I don't know. So I don't know if I need you to say anything, but just these are some of my concerns that have bubbled up.
Tammy, can I respond to the longevity thing? So there's no playground material that lasts the life of the building. So, but the question I think you're asking is, does it have greater longevity than the Port and Place rubber? And we don't know that yet, but we wouldn't be expecting that. I would not be expecting that it would last more than 15 or 20 years in general. And Port and Place rubber itself, you've probably seen on playgrounds. The real issue is that the wear is not even, right? I mean, the classic, and Bob, I think, has showed you pictures before, when you have something where the kids are running around in a circle or on a swing, the stuff does degrade, right? But the question about duration is one we are also still trying to answer.
I think Tammy, I might not have heard you right. I think she was also worried about the longevity of the installers. You know, they're new to doing this, and I guess, Bob, did I hear you right? We don't have a list of places that either of them have installed playgrounds in. You know, one email we had suggested there are some Corkine playgrounds in Delaware, but I emailed one of them and haven't had a response yet, but places where they are in and whether any of them have been in for at least more than 1 year, let alone 5 years. Is that correct? We just don't have a list yet?
I don't have a list yet, and I do believe that at best probably single digit years. You know, this is a new product. We know this is a new product to the US. So I'd be surprised to see that at best it was any more than a couple of years.
Any other questions? Because I have a couple. And I think one only, let me see whether Paul is still with us. Yeah, so one is about financing. Any other questions? Deb?
Hi,
Or
questions,
comments, any, questions, comments, yeah.
questions in general or about this particular topic?
Right now, focus on Corkine.
Okay, about Corkine. So my question, and as you know, I joined the committee at the beginning of this year, is what about this conversation is new? Because I don't know, I think I was in on the original vote, like for my first meeting, but it seems like this is besides the one Easton issue, this is things that have been discussed already.
I'll tell you what's new is when we voted on Corkine, we knew it was risky. We thought there was an installation in Philadelphia that had Corkine all the way down. We discovered that wasn't true. Underneath it was just Corkine on top, that it didn't want sun to fall. The company had said they were expanding, and we thought there would be more places that we would have. And the brand new information is someone was willing to be the experiment, and the installer didn't do it right. And it turned out who the installer is and the level of training and their expertise mattered a lot, or you get a failure. I think the other thing Bob found in Easton is the warranty issue. And you can speak to this, Bob. This is just Bob told me this, but they were wrapped around a larger contract with us being the subcontract, and that larger contract had the power to make them come back and fix it. So there was and this we'd be just contracting with the installer. So at this point, we have concerns about the level of experience of the installers and the level of warranty and bonding they would give us. So that is all new information we did not have when we thought we had found the dream solution. It was, it was not toxic, and we knew it had been done in Scandinavia, but it was going to be new to the US and new to a climate like New England, which is quite different. So this is what's new. And so what we're raising is a very expensive investment in the town. And do we want to take that risk, or do we want to do something that's much less expensive, which is engineered wood fiber, and potentially wait for a couple years? And that's what I wanted to ask Paul about. Can we reserve money to say if Corkine turns out to have a lot of experience and the experience is positive, then we could come back and install it. So that's a question I'll ask after we do this. But the newness is, and then Bob reported at the last committee that some of the installers admitted they'd had failures. We had no information about failures before, none, zero, no information. So we were going on literally a report from Lowell that this existed, and we found the company in the US. That was it.
Okay, so my question was in the context of, I did have a conversation with someone in Ameren as well as the Cork and Moore folks. And they gave me the location, not the locations. They said that there have been other installations, one in, and this is just, I don't have specifics, but it just feels like we're making, generalizing, as I said last month, from a data point of one, with the feeling like there aren't any other existence proofs.
Did they give you a list of names and did you call them?
I just had a very
No, so that's what we're looking for. Bob has been asking for it, so I think that's the further exploration.
I can do that. I sent you that information and they said Rhode Island, they said Delaware, they said Eastern and Western Pennsylvania, they said New Jersey. I can follow up if that's important. And whether or not other people have tried and been unsuccessful, I don't know. But I'm just putting pieces together and I don't understand the entire process
Okay,
of
so we
making
have,
this decision and then thinking about not making it or changing direction and getting some information and getting conflicting information. I'm just trying to understand the whole thing.
sure, and there are two more hands up, but you know, we're not at the end of trying to get this information. So if Bob is, they seem eager to want a contract from us, so they ought to be eager to provide us the names so that we can do background checks on them, which we wouldn't have to do with others, but we do need to do some background checks. So we're not at the end of this discussion. So Alicia and Angelica.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm really interested in the information that Deborah just brought forward and to learn more sort of about those installations. But my question was about something that Margaret may have said earlier in terms of a failed installation that they're working to fix. And I wonder if you can explain what exactly that means. So they're not going to remove it, they're going to fix it and keep the corkine. Is that what that means? And what does fixing it mean?
So I have seen this installation, but Bob is the one who's talked to folks there. So again, I'm going to reference Bob. So we heard this was the installation we heard about 2.5 years ago. It happened last spring, I believe, Bob. They did it like in April or May, and then I went back a few months later, and the corkine had worn really badly in the high traffic areas and cracked in multiple locations. So, Bob, do you want to add anything? Because
Yeah,
I think you
certainly
talked
it
to
was
the
the
installer, the town.
yeah, the installation in Easton started actually, it was over a year ago, is my understanding, and it began to fail relatively quickly. There was, as Margaret indicated, there was cracking, there was surface delamination. It was really the focus of the presentation I made at that last meeting, the memorandum that I put together for the last meeting. My understanding from talking with the facility director in Easton, who's been, knee deep in this project and actively involved in it, is it took a year of discussions with the product manufacturer, with Amarin, and with the installer, who was a subcontractor to the general contractor. The installer, somewhat ironically, was, I believe, a firm named No Fault Installation. And ultimately, they came to an agreement that led to them beginning the repair work about a month and a half ago now. What that repair work was, in some locations, was completely removing the material. In other locations where there was delamination happening, where there's a base material that's installed that's a larger size cork material, and then the surface material that's a much smaller material and tighter material. The surface material was starting to delaminate, so they removed the surface material and replaced that in some locations. So in some cases, it was a complete replacement. In other cases, it was stripped the top layer off and put a new top layer in over what was there. Literally, actually sanding down material in places and then putting a new surface over the top of that.
Alicia, did that, and we have pictures, I think we put them in the packet last, of that combination of total replacement and fixing the delamination.
Yeah, I think that that was helpful, but I think that sort of what I'm trying to get to is do they think this sort of fixing the top material and relamination solves the issue, or do they foresee that they will have to continue to do those things?
Keep going, Bob. Yeah, you're the
Certainly.
one who had the conversation, Joe.
Having talked with the designer, the landscape architect that was responsible for this project, they are hopeful that this will correct the problem. But they don't know. But they're hopeful that it will. And I would, again, speaking with the facility director, um, he's hopeful as well. He is more optimistic because the staff that performed the corrective work and new work, because a portion of the playground work was completely new, were clearly trained on site by an Ameren representative brought in from Europe. That actually the facility director sat in on the training as well to understand the process. So everyone is optimistic that what they've done will be more successful than the last attempt. Again, I think as Margaret indicated before, none of us really have a good sense of what the longevity of even a well correctly installed surface might be.
Angelica.
Thanks, Kathy. And just to say thank you for all the materials. I think this has been really helpful to get that additional information and to keep the conversation going on something so challenging. I think my question is, are we narrowing it down in the discussion between Corkine and as the choice, Corkine and engineered wood fiber? Is that where we're at this point? I mean, I understand that poured in place rubber has gotten serious environmental implications, and I completely agree with that. I also think that engineered wood fiber has serious accessibility issues. And so I'm eager to see a report that also highlights as an important determining factor the accessibility of these various things. It seems to me from everything that installation problems exist in all materials. The minute that engineered wood fiber is laid out, it already is getting waves and undulations, and there's just never, it's almost like only at the moment of installation does it have a perfect surface area. Poured in place rubber, as many folks who play on the playground know, you can go right now to Groff Park and find the little pieces that children can put in their mouths. I mean, that is the fact of, and then Corkine also has. So I'm trying to evaluate and figure out what is the best criteria by which to evaluate it. And if we can also discuss sort of what criteria it is. I know that installation issues exist with Corkine, but it seems like there's installation problems with all of them. So are we narrowing it down, or are we still open to also thinking about alternatives that there might be out there besides this? I know Corkine was our alternative, so I don't know if there are others. I hate to ask, but you had mentioned that last time in your travels that you had come across maybe some other possibilities.
So that's a great question. And at this point, I mean, I had, as you know, I am just, I'll wait to have Jonathan, but I'll just quickly say that I am not a landscape architecture. I have never installed a playground. So what I do is walk around and look at them. And I had seen in my travels, as you mentioned, these very thick, like 4 inches thick rubber tiles that were placed over what looked to me placed over engineered wood fiber underneath them. So they were quite resilient. So it wasn't just them. And they had these tiny little things that connected them. So they weren't interlacing. I have no idea whether that exists. And my understanding, and Danisco can speak to this, there have not been good experiences with those. And the actual rubber that those tiles are made of may have some of the characteristics that we're worried about. But as I said, this was me seeing that it was something that covered. And in some places they were used as walkways. And the one I saw was under a seesaw, so that when it would go up or down, you bounced, you didn't thud in the dirt. So it didn't throw kids off. And I saw it in a couple of playgrounds. So that was where Bruce started an exploration with a landscape. Is there something that could cover the EWF that would make, and that was can we have bonded EWF that was unitary on top and would last longer? Is there something that can cover it? And right now, as of today, I don't have yes, there's something like that. So I think we are down to these two choices if we do not want to go back to the Conservation Commission for a hybrid solution on PIP. If we're taking that off the table, then these are our two choices. And I just would say that because engineered wood fiber is a lot less expensive, we could put it in and then wait a year or two and come back with Corkine. So one of the things I wanted to know from the town managers, could we bank the extra money? So right now, this is all part of taxpayer dollars. You know, we're not, but it won't be part of a school budget. So I don't know the answer to that. So that's my answer. And then Tim and others can weigh in on to what extent we know of anything else than these options. You know, what are our choices? And I see Jonathan's hand is up, and then I'll have Danisco and or Margaret, anyone join in. Jonathan.
I do have a couple things I'd like to kind of comment on, but I'm curious about hearing Paul's answer to your question about whether or not there would be a way to wait to see if Corkine has the legs, as it were, as a product, and whether or not there's a pathway here, before I make my other comments.
Can you hear me,
Yeah.
Kathy?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so my perspective is strictly liability, risk assessment, and financial. I'm not a wed to any particular product. You know, whoever's comes up with an idea of product, if it works on those levels, I'd be supportive of. It has to meet our requirements for health and safety and for ADA accessibility. I think I just heard about the idea of banking funds in the past this morning. What I had been thinking about was getting a locked in warranty with a bond that protects the town. My goal is to protect the town's investment. If we buy something, whoever installs it and gets a big contract from the town, they should be willing to stand by it, and then have funds available that we don't have to go to court to access. So we would be able to trigger the bond. That's what I want. I don't want to be in a litigation between the supplier versus the installer. That's just a mess. In terms of, the other option is to say, well, we're willing to take the risk, but we're going to bank some money in anticipation of, or even maybe not take the risk, do an interim installation, and have a separate sum of money set aside under our current bonding, borrowing, to complete the project. I'd have to look more into our contract with MSBA and with what we would be allowed to do under our with our bond counsel, but that's certainly an intriguing idea as well. So I think if we're looking for financial security, we can either require it from a third party, or we can bank it ourselves, basically, is what the answer is, with the options.
Paul, I understand. Can I just ask, for the bonding, you're contracting, you're procuring it, and they've put up the money. So is that, if it failed, they have to come back and fix it, or they have to give you back the money because it failed? I mean, how does that work?
You would want to be able to hold, Bob would know this better, or Jonathan would as well, but with a bond, you hold the bond and they pay for the bond. And then if the product fails, you pull the bond and you use those funds to fix it.
So Jonathan, did that answer, so your hand is up, and
Yes,
I know you had.
yes.
Yeah.
So that just gives me a little bit of context to what I'm about to say. I'm certainly supportive of spending a little bit more time to come to a consensus conclusion. To me, there are multiple critical, important things that have to come out of the ultimate decision. And I realize there are many people who are going to be frustrated that we are looking at this issue again. But I'm going to start with the notion that the reason we're looking at this again is because we're using a product that is new to the market, that is not the industry standard, that our design team has not had experience with, and feels uncomfortable enough with the risk that we have separated it out from their work. That said, I think that if we can get the Corkine to get a bond, and to get safety and protection financially for the town, then the Corkine does meet several of the critical things we needed to meet. If we can get this all settled between now and when the school opens, we get a fully accessible surface that is comparable to what we would get with the product that actually is the industry standard, which is the PIP. And there's a reason why that's the industry standard. It's been around a long time. I'm uncomfortable with the engineered wood fiber because I'm uncomfortable with whether or not we're truly reaching the accessibility standards that I think we need to meet with a brand new school in particular. We don't have, unless I'm missing one somewhere, we don't have an elementary school in town that has a fully accessible, past the first weeks of raking the stuff out, surface that folks can use. We do have a couple. We have the one in whichever park that is. I can't remember it now. Kind of towards the north end of town, which happens to be a PIP surface. And yes, it is wearing. All surfaces are going to wear. But I think to me, it's very important that if we can get a accessible surface installed by the time the school opens. I will be personally embarrassed if we can't. That said, if for some reason our hands are tied and we're not allowed to use another material that could be installed in that time, I guess I would default to pushing the decision further down the road and see if over time we could get this surface to work. So those are my comments.
I saw Angelica's hand went up, and then you, Deb.
Just a quick comment. You're saying about trying to figure out if we have a little bit of time, what other alternatives might be out there. And I thought making a plug for reaching out to colleagues at UMass Amherst. They have a fine Department of Landscape Architecture. There's also the program on Building Construction and Technology. It's a program called BCT. And I see constantly lectures that they're doing on cutting edge lectures on sustainable materials. The building, Oliver Design Building, is one of our prize buildings at UMass in terms of the sustainability, all made out of wood. So it would be colleagues there and contacts there that would probably know what probably is the cutting edge materials that might be available.
Deb, and then Margaret.
Yeah, hi. So I like the idea of having some funds being held back either for repair or replacement. But since it seems to me like Corkine is the one product that checks all the boxes, or the only product that we have, it would make more sense to do that as an install. And if that failed, then we would go back to the drawing board with some less expensive options. I just, I look at this from sort of an optics point of view because I am, an elected official and I am responsible to my constituents. The not that this is intentional, and thank you, Jonathan, for saying that this is why we're scrutinizing this so carefully, but I'm very uncomfortable with a bait and switch, which I'm not saying it is, I'm saying it can be construed as. So that's a hard part for me, but also nobody wants to be the school district that puts in $100 million building with a playground surface that nobody can use. But I think it makes the most sense to me to put in the more expensive one that is within our budget and has been budgeted for, with the anticipation that we expect it to be successful, because it does meet the needs of the majority of students. It meets the guidance of our local boards, Conservation Committee and Public Health. And if we have to change direction, at least we've given it the best shot to check to meet all of those issues. Thank you.
Margaret, you had your hand up. Oh, and I see Allison also. So
Oh.
Allison and then Margaret.
I want to echo what Deborah said. I think that we knew that this was an environmentally sensitive area when we took on the project. We thought that the monies that might be needed to accommodate for the water table and the construction of the building, that's where the expense would come. I don't think we ever considered that the environmentally sensitive nature of the Fort River site would implicate the playground surfacing, but now it is. And we knew that this site would require possibly some extra funding in order to take care of the environment. So if we can get the experts on board that we need to, we're being told by our Board of Health that we cannot risk this and the environmental health of our community. There we are. And I'm letting you know, if we were not the home of the intensive learning center, this would maybe be a different discussion, but we are. And I currently have 4 children in wheelchairs. I'm not familiar with the children at other schools, but this is a very real accessibility need. And I've done the best I can to find evidence of what engineered wood fiber that's bonded looks like. I can't find it. And I know that I see plenty of examples of engineered wood fiber on videos online that show how hard it is to move the wheelchair through it. It takes 3 times more effort and time to get across a playground on engineered wood fiber than it does if it's poured in place or some type of flat surface. So I don't want us to think that, because I've heard this argument that wood chips is not engineered wood fiber. Okay, but I just, any surface that can move and it makes it harder for the wheels to move is going to be harder for a child who's 5 years old to move their wheelchair. It's just a fact. And I have 5-year-olds with wheelchairs and they are getting strength and they're getting stronger and they're able to move in their own with this. And this is how we make them stronger, by creating a playground that they can access fully, as opposed to sitting on the edge, which they do now, watching their friends play. So I don't like the idea that engineered wood fiber is an option. I appreciate Kathy saying, oh, maybe we put it in for a few years and then put something else. Okay, I guess, why don't we put poured in place in for 20 years and then we put in something that's engineered, that's more environmentally friendly? That's another option, but I understand, I'm respecting the Board of Health. I'm not saying that we should go against their recommendations. But I do think that given what the town is saying, we have to take Corkine seriously and put in place the expertise necessary to mitigate risks and be ready with repairs and things like that. That will happen because we want to have this option at this time, because we're not waiting 5 years to build this building when other schools have this option so that we can analyze. We are going to be the test case. So let's see how we can do this. That's my opinion right now.
Margaret, your hand was up, but I think it's also that you can't necessarily stay with us for that long. So, okay. So Margaret may need to leave us, just so everyone knows. It's not because she doesn't want to be part of the conversation. So,
and I need to report on something else on a different item on the agenda before I go. So,
okay. So, let me make an attempt to summarize what I think I heard. So if Bob and the procurement team can get a contract that has the bond that Paul described and has 5 years on labor as well as from the company on the product. So we're protected, that they would have to come back and what did Alicia say? Fix and repair. You know, they would have to honor the installation. If he can get all the way there, we don't have that yet. So what I'd like to say is that we come back to this. I think we have time and to our October meeting and have Bob come back to us with more description of where has this been done anywhere other than the ones we know in Texas, a few more examples. And will one of these 2 installers, and I believe they're planning on driving trucks with the product and their people to the site, but will they be there? And Tammy's question was, if it fails, are they going to be there within a week rather than a year later? I mean, a year later is a long time to wait if the surface is failing. So to what extent are they going to honor the installation? So Bob, if is that a good place to stop right now and say, you know, Corkeen we're still putting it on the list of viable, and I think the town can't really contract for something that's this expensive without those guarantees and warranties about the product. We'd be crazy. We're not going to have this money again. So we need to at least know that they'll come back and fix it if we move forward on this. And if they're eager to, it's a big company. They should be able to give us that kind of bond. Does that make everyone feel comfortable as long as we have the time? And I think that means we're not going back to Concom with the hybrid with Port and Place Rubber to say, can we address their concerns with PIP? Bob.
So I think we're mixing apples and oranges a little bit. To be clear again, the big company, Ameren, all they do is sell product. They've made it 100% clear that they will not warranty anything but the product. They will not warranty the installation. So it's a mixture of those two things, and that's where the challenge comes in here. It's the installer that we would be looking to provide an extended performance bond. And these installers are they're not big companies. So we'll ask the question. The real answer we might not get until we actually put this job out on the street and they're willing to commit, with a real bid and a real commitment and a real contract behind this. But we'll ask the question and see what the response is. Also, the installation list will come ideally from Ameren, from the big company. And the reality is they should be able to provide that installation list pretty quickly. I'll look for not only where, but who's the owner, when was it installed, who was the installer, all the important information to know about not just we did something here, we did something there, but details that we can dig into in order to really vet the appropriateness of the information we're getting. So I'll reach out to these two installers and we'll see what they have to say relative to their willingness to go beyond the 1 year and provide a financial assurance mechanism that protects the town.
I see Paul's hand is up. And Margaret does have something to report, so maybe I'll sandwich her in before I get everybody's thanks. Paul.
Yeah, very quickly, just to build on what Michael said, I really think it's important for us to see some evidence of an installation that's happened in the northern climate that's survived at least 1 year, preferably 5 years. I think if we don't have evidence of an actual thing, we're buying an experiment.
Okay, but are people okay with just split? Margaret wanted to do a report on furniture and equipment. Is that what you were going to report on, Margaret?
Yes, I don't want to, I need to.
She needs to. So can we take a pause and then we'll come back to this? And okay, Margaret.
Okay. I apologize. I do have to join another call at 1:30. So I wanted to give a very brief update on furniture, fixtures, and equipment. You're going to hear this term FF&E a lot. Those of you who were on committee back when feasibility when we established the budget will remember that there are 2 line items in the budget for furniture and equipment, 1 line item and 1 line item for technology. So we are at the moment where we actually need to start procuring those materials for the installation and the project in the next summer. And so we've gone back, the design team and their consultants. So there's a furniture consultant and there's a technology consultant. They're both very good. Have gone back and looked at those budgets. What we can see is that we're right on target for the technology budget. The furniture estimate is higher than it was before. And we think there's a couple of strategies to bring it back in closer alignment with the original budget. So I've been in touch with Tammy and Allison and Tanya McIntyre, who is part of the superintendent's team. And the three of them are sort of formed into a small group to review with the furniture folks and Danisco next week where we stand to sort of bring that back into alignment. But this is mostly a heads up that in October, we'll be bringing you a more detailed update on that, because at that point, time of the October meeting, we need to authorize the design team to move ahead with setting the procurement in play, well, to launch it. And that will be working also with Simone and Bob. So there's quite a team, but that October date is coming at us pretty quickly. And so I didn't want to come to the committee in October without giving you a heads up that this is kind of in the oncoming lane in October. Donna, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that the furniture and fixture industry has really seen a significant increase in costs year over year. Construction sort of went like that, and now it's leveled off and maybe even come down a little bit. We haven't been able to secure pricing through the state bid list or MHEC. Vendors have not released 2026 pricing because of we don't know. You maybe could assume tariffs or other things, but they have not released 2026 pricing. So we need to go out to bid. We don't have a choice, but now it's just going to be a matter of balancing all of the needs and then having a plan if we need to reduce costs.
Well, I think that this was put on just to raise everyone's awareness, and
Right.
some people are knee deep in the awareness, and the rest of us are peripheral.
Right,
So-
that's it. So that's kind of the update. Well, there'll be a lot more information for the October meeting, so.
And everyone knows, I think I put it on the agenda, but it should be a hold. It's the 17th is when we're meeting in October. So I'm coming back now. I think it was definitely Deb and Angelica both had their hands up. And I think it was Angelica first, then Deb.
Thanks, Kathy. So, as I was asking about criteria, so we can engage in, decision making on this issue, it seems like the financial criteria has also emerged. So, I'd like to ask if we can have, along with the reports on, the follow-up questions on Corkine and installation, if we can also have some financial updates, like for instance, if we were not to get a guarantee of these repairs, how much would repairs cost? I'd like to know that. I'd also like to know if there are any surpluses in the project, where those surpluses are allocated, and if they can be used to cover those repairs. That is, can we potentially use any surpluses available to cover that? I ask these questions because it's not like we're not engaging in experiments all the time in this town. My neighborhood here in Heatherstone is one of those. We have those roundabouts and now are not going to work. And now it's going to cost like $10,000 to $30,000 a pop to remove. They're like 2 blocks down the road. So that's an experiment. Oopsies, it didn't work. And it's going to cost us a couple $1,000s of the excess, probably of $40,000, $50,000 just to knock those out and then do it again and engage in another study. So it's not like this is not part of the experimentation that is done in Amherst that we need to take into account financially.
And this is just a $300,000 experiment, or in that price range. Yeah, but I understand.
Right, and there's the studies that are being currently, undertaken, just the studies that cost like 700,000. So, I'd like to have the sticker price and any surpluses that might be able to mitigate, because finances is an important criteria.
Okay, so I'll make sure that goes on the agenda. And I think I'm right, Bob. We have time on this, right? We have enough time if it's October 17th for time both for you to go out and get the information and report back to us.
Subject to responses from the installers and vendors, yes, which have been slow to come sometimes.
Deb.
Yeah, so actually a lot of my thinking is follows the same lines as what Angelica is presenting. I kept thinking about integrated circuits for the Apollo landing, moon landing, and we sent people into outer space on an experiment, which was the use of integrated circuits, which is very, very cutting edge at that point. And yes, it is money. But, my, I need a little bit more clarity on process. I'm sorry, I need these sort of things spelled out. Because Paul wants or feels that it's important to see an existence proof successful installation in the Northeast. So I wonder about my kids spent 2 years in Wisconsin and they got more snow and they get as much humidity as we do. So I wondered if Wisconsin would count in terms of that condition. Bob's gonna look for more local, look for other successful installations on the East Coast. And we're expecting to be able to talk to the installers to see if they're willing to have a warranty, a 5-year warranty on their work. If any of those 3 conditions fail, and it's October, what do we do? Because I think in October we need to make a decision on which way forward. And if those 3 conditions fail and the committee votes against Corkine, what's the alternative? So thank you.
I think that is exactly the situation we're in. And so it's the town has an obligation to taxpayers to at least have some protection. But as Angelica said, can there be, do we have an ability to back our own self up? I don't think any of us are hoping. All of us are hoping that if we go this route, it will work and that we won't be 6 months later. That was the Eastern tearing it up and repairing and relaminating it with an installer that has to drive across the country. That's what we're hoping. So I think that's the knowledge that we're asking to have. And it may still be, Deb, with those risks, that this committee is willing to vote yes. I'm not saying that that means that we would vote no. So are those preconditions? Everyone here, there are 13 of us, when we're all here, has a vote. Okay, so that, yeah.
No, so my question is, if we vote it down for whatever reason, what do we vote up in October?
Well, it appears right now, and Jonathan's got his hands up, engineered wood fiber, unless there's an engineered wood fiber, unless people want to go back to Concom. You know, that's where we are. We don't have another miracle solution. Margaret made a comment to me, she's gone now, that there is a market waiting for a product out there because lots of people are asking about this, you know, that can we do the following, that EWF quite quickly is disturbed when it gets traffic, and we hope this playground will. So we don't think that's ideal. We never did. So we don't have, you know, a 4th and 5th choice or 3rd and 4th choice right now, but we've got a month, and if anyone finds one, it can be on the list. You know, it's just, I called the Troy people and they had nothing. They really had nothing beyond, and some of the things they had in the report, they hadn't followed up to see whether it still existed or not. So it wasn't that they had more. So Jonathan, so that's where we're going to be. And I think so that's the step forward right now is Bob is going to go out there and get as much information, including will they warranty the labor, the installer warranty the labor. And if they're not big pockets enough, with parent companies say, I want this product installed more, will they come up with it? Whatever. I'm just saying that if you want to push your product into new markets, someone should be backing it up. And so I understand they're 2 different entities, but I think that's where we are right now. And fortunately, it's not April.
So, Kathy, I was just going to say, unfortunately, I have to depart the conversation at this point. I think it's important that we're having this robust discussion, as sort of my parting comment, because if in the end we have to do what you just described, which is because of constraints that we have, both on the available products, what other boards have indicated they will support or not support, at least we have had a robust conversation where the nature of the choice was clearly vetted. So thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. So we have two other, I want to make sure, okay, we still have a quorum. So we have a construction update. You already had the FF&E, the quick one, and we have invoices before we open it up to public comments. So I think, Ksenia, we're back to seeing the fact that we actually have a school, which is really nice.
Yes, do we have any concern about more people departing before we have to vote? We have to vote on invoices. We do not have to vote on the construction update. So maybe we do invoices first.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 10. We're fine.
Okay, then let's do the construction update. Connor, would you mind pulling up the slides, and Tim generously agreed to take us through them again?
You can see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
There is a kind of a black block over the right-hand side where you probably see our faces.
Better?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so as always, starting off with a couple pictures from last month so you can get an idea of what the progress was last month and compare that to the pictures we're going to see ahead. And then scrolling down to the overview picture. And then I'll pass it over to Tim and I'll start scrolling through the slides.
So here you can see that the exterior framing is almost all the way to the administration at the east end of the building, and actually as of today it is. So the building and the windows are completely framed, and you should be able to see the full shape of the building. The yellow is the exterior sheathing, the white is the vapor barrier, and then as we sort of walk around the building in the pictures, you'll see that the classroom end of the building, almost all of the brick is up. Here are photos on the inside where you can see that the walls are being framed on the interior. On the third floor, they are almost completely done. As you walk through the space, you can really get a sense of spaces in the building, the classrooms, all of that. And that allows the other trades to work. On the third floor, they're progressing pretty quickly with the ductwork, plumbing, and electrical. To varying degrees, they are also continuing this work on the second and the first floor. Here you can see that they even have a few of the rooms with board on the interior of the building. These are the electrical closets where the infrastructure that everybody is going to be working off of is happening. So that's why those are done first, and they're also fire rated rooms. But I expect within the next few weeks, and maybe by the time the next tour with the building committee happens, you'll probably have some of the walls on the interior, at least on the third floor, with board on them. So you'll really truly get a sense of the spaces. On this, you can see the exterior of the building. On the left is the geothermal field southeast of the building. All of the wells at this point are installed with the tube end, the tubing that goes in them, and the vault in the center of the field, and the connection to the building is being made. On the right, you can see the staging for the mason that is doing masonry work all the way up to the gym at this point.
Wow. Tim, is the white, is that the brick?
The white is not the brick. The white is the air and vapor barrier that goes behind the brick. And then in the next couple of photos, you'll be able to see the brick. This is the south elevation that they are currently working on. So under the direct sunlight, you can see a good amount of contrast between the light and the dark brick, but this is not yet washed down. And after that happens, the contrast becomes even more pronounced. So the images that we've been looking at and renderings videos all along that sort of a pop between the black and white to simplify it is apparent in these images. What you do not see here are the colorful pops at the neck, where the cursor is. So we are working through the materials and the details, but that will be a tile that is installed after the fact. that will give you the colors. And what also is not installed on the south elevation yet are the sunshades that will really make the building look like what you've been looking at in rendered form all along. Here you are on the north side. This brick is washed down, so it's the final color, but it's entirely in shadow, so you can't really see the contrast. But all of the window openings are there, and as of last week, they started putting a few in the lower left-hand corner of this picture. So in the very near future, you'll get a good sense of what the window's like. Here's another view of the classroom wing from the north that, you know, the exterior facade is on its way to being finished. What you can't see as you wrap around the kindergarten area on the lower part where the composite metal panel will be installed, so that will add another pop of color.
So just a reminder that the site tour is on the 30th, Tuesday the 30th. So please email me if you haven't already, if you're interested in attending.
And I want to say a couple of words on overall schedule. Connor, would you mind jumping back to page 5? So Tim pointed out that we have prioritized, the contractor has prioritized accelerating completion boarding of electrical rooms. There's a reason for that, and it's a reason that you may recall us talking about some months ago, right? So one of the biggest areas of focus in terms of schedule is getting the main electrical power available to this building, not only for the completion of the building, but several months ahead of that, so that all the mechanical equipment can be brought online, calibrated, tested, etc. And there's a component of that that relies on the electrical utility to deliver their transformer to the site, right? And that is something that we cannot officially request until according to them now, until the building is electrically ready. So what you see here is the excellent progress that's being made in order to mitigate that schedule risk. It remains an area of significant focus for a good reason. And I just want to show you that work is being done in order to pre-address it as much as it is within the team's control. In other ways, some while ago, you may remember that when our ability to award a construction contract was delayed by several months from the fall into winter. There was an allowance, an amount of money set aside to support acceleration that has continued to be used very judiciously. Not at every opportunity for somebody to, go out there and make overtime pay, but in the places where it is most needful in order to be able to get this building up and to open up all the spaces within it to a multitude of trades to get in there and start doing their work. And we keep attention to it on a weekly basis, and it appears to be trending well, right? And is being managed well. We are keenly aware that we will be coming into a very tight summer, right, with this building being turned over in the middle of the summer for, needing to be up and ready and running, and the solar panels activated, everything ready to go for the school year. Everybody's attention is highly focused on that, and we will continue to report as we go. For the moment, we're in a good place, and that is not because nothing comes up that is of concern. It's because everything that comes up gets managed when it's needed. So I will leave it there. If there are any questions.
Any comments, questions? I'm not seeing any hands up. So Connor, if you can take it down, I'll just double check to make I'm sure I'm not missing one. I don't see any hands up. So I think now we're at invoice time.
Back to you, Connor.
Switching over to the invoice package. Starting off with our executive summary as always. The green portion of our bar here in the top left is invoiced previously. The black portion here is our current invoice package, which is a bigger one this month. Our yellow is our currently unbilled portion of contracts, and then our white is currently uncommitted costs. Invoice package this month is $8,259,310. It's 8.3% of the budget overall. Brings us up to 38% invoiced overall. The total project budget, 62% remaining. Scrolling down to the cash flow, green is our completed months, our prior months. Blue is our projection going forward. You can see this month we have quite a large invoice package. We'll get to the invoice package in a second. Talk about why it's particularly large this month. But that's a quick look at our cash flow. And you can see our contingency as always, hanging off to the side over here. And then this shaded green field, I don't know if I touch on it month to month, but that's it shows the accumulating total amount invoiced. So this value you see here, invoice on this right scale here on the right side. So scrolling down to the summary, zoom out a little bit. We have 7 invoices this month, one from Answer Accenture, 2 from Danisco, 1 from CTA, 2 from Allied Testing, and 1 from Wayne J. Griffin, who we purchased the pre-purchase electrical gear from. And that's one of the reasons that the invoice package is particularly high this month, is because we have this $267,000 invoice from them this month for that pre-purchase electrical gear. So first taking a look at Answer's invoice, one invoice for $63,970, 2% of our contract overall, bringing us up to 48% complete, 52% remaining. Danisco has 2 invoices this month. Their main invoice for $65,000 that we see every month, and their second invoice for geothermal consulting, $31,680, 1% of their contract overall, bringing them up to 79% complete and 21% remaining. CTA, their requisition this month for $7,818,392, 11% of their contract overall, 37% complete, 63% remaining. Allied Testing, 2 invoices this month, one for $5,697.51 and one for $7,373, 3% of their contract overall, bringing up to 22% complete. Wayne J. Griffin, that invoice we talked about for the pre-purchase electrical gear, $297,197.81. This brings them up to 82% overall, 96% in the contract, 4% remaining, which is some retainage that we're holding on their requisition, which we'll see when we get down to that invoice.
Connor, before you scroll away, a couple of more general notes. So one, we probably explained retainage before, but it's worth touching on it again. It is, for CTA, there's a substantial amount, almost $1.5 million held in retainage now. And that is so we approve a chunk of work as being complete. Let's say if we're looking at a slab, we say half a second floor slabs are done, right? So it's 50% complete. So this is how much is owed to the contractor. As allowable by law and contract, instead of paying out that full amount, we hold back a percentage as incentive for the end of a project, to make sure that the contractors, the subcontractors that did their work have an incentive to come back and fix anything that isn't right or complete anything that's not fully done, right? So that we do not get to a place at the end of a project where it's mostly done and mostly paid, and we're having trouble getting contractors back to get it to 100%. So that is what is there. That is an extra security for the town. And the second note I want to make is one of the other reasons why CTA's requisition is much higher this month than we have seen so far. There's a few reasons. One is that there's some of the big mechanical equipment is starting to come in. So those are expensive pieces, but also I think the last time I checked with our full-time on-site clerk, Lee Figgins, who's out there for us every day, there was something like 16 trades working simultaneously on site. And that goes along with having gotten the building up. So now that, there's simultaneous work by multiple trades happening at the same time, and it really increases the productivity, which is reflected in that billing. Thank you, Connor. You can go on.
Perfect. Thank you, Ksenia. So scrolling down to the answer invoice, cover page, $63,970. And we'll scroll through the backup. And as always, please stop me if you have any questions. And as always, just speak out because I can't see you if you're raising your hand. So. Moving on to Danishko's invoice for the $65,000. And their second invoice for the month for their geothermal consultant, GZA. And the backup invoice from GZA. Moving down to CTA's requisition this month. Certified for $7,818,392. Moving to the summary, which I'll zoom in on. We can see here in the stored materials column F, what Ksenia was touching on earlier about the mechanical equipment. $900,915 in stored materials this month. So we have a lot of the mechanical equipment that came in now. So that's the stored materials column. And we also have the work in place column, all the work that's currently or has been completed on site as of the end of August. Scrolling down, have the Wayne J. Griffin invoice. You can see marked up here to withhold 5% for retainage. Certified in the amount of $267,197.81. And the breakdown page for Griffin's requisition. And then finally, we have the two invoices from Allied Testing. The first one here for $5,697.51. And the second one I believe it was $7,373. So that concludes the invoice package presentation. As always, we pre-review these invoices and recommend them for your approval.
Are there any questions before I ask for a motion to make a motion to approve? I'm not seeing any hands up, so I make a motion to approve the invoices as presented. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. And I will call on people as I see them on my screen. Kathy is a yes. Mike?
Yes.
Simone? We can't hear you, Simone.
Sorry, yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Angelica,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
and Alicia.
Yes.
Thank you all. The invoices are approved. Are there any other comments or questions? The agenda for the next meeting will be an update, including the FF&E and coming back to the playground, the further exploration, both on the Corkine potential contract and getting more information on that. If there are no other suggestions, I am going to open it for public comments. So we are open for public comments. If you would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand and you will have up to 3 minutes. And if you would identify yourself, Ellen, I have brought you in and you should be able to talk if you unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. And just give us your full name, please.
Sure. I'm Ellen Jedri-Gadara. I'm a resident of Amherst with 2 kids at Crocker Farm. And I'm here today to urge you to keep Corkine as the material for the playground surface at the new elementary school. I'm making these comments to you as a parent of elementary school age children, and also as a parent of a child with a disability, and as an environmentalist. I urge you to respect the decision of the Amherst Board of Health. And also, of course, the Conservation Commission has made its decision regarding permitting in this area that's near sensitive wetlands. Corkine is environmentally sound. It does not contain or leach the toxins that you find in crumb rubber. It doesn't emit VOCs. It will not have as high of a surface temperature as other substrates like poured in place. You can even walk on it in hotter temperatures than we're used to. It's better for our climate, for carbon emissions, and very importantly, it's accessible for all children. The product might be new to the United States, but it's not new to Europe. And I've heard it mentioned it's been in use for at least 10 years. There's a number of case studies on the website, which I'm sure many of you have seen, and that includes countries with northern climates and where English is the primary spoken language, or in other countries where English would be spoken as well. I would hope that we could reach out to some of these folks and possibly get pictures and learn about their experiences and not limit ourselves to one site in Massachusetts that has had a problem with a contractor. To my knowledge, and I admit I don't know much, engineered wood fiber is mulch, and mulch is just not accessible. You're going to have to clear pathways. If you're using interlocking mats on top of it, they'll just get covered. You have to constantly move the mulch around. That's not accessibility. It's really difficult to move a wheelchair or mobility device through mulch. And it ends up with kids sitting on the sidelines watching their friends play. And it's not inclusive. It's, to me, is exclusive. And it would go against our values, I think, as a town. I think use of Corkine would really place us as a leader in green buildings and accessible playgrounds in the United States, and we can be looked to as an example. And I think Corkine can be the dream solution that addresses accessibility and the environmental concerns that have been raised for the poured in place playgrounds. And we just need to take the opportunity. So I appreciate you all for your hard work and thank you for listening. And that's the end of my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Maria.
Thank you, Maria Kopicki, South Amherst. So I sent you a very long email, so I won't probably use my whole 3 minutes here. I hope that you read that. I do want to remind you that rubber poured in place is not fully accessible. Yes, it is a smooth surface, but kids can't use it because of the heat issues. Kids can't use it because of the off-gassing. And, so please do not use rubber pip. I also sent to Kathy some photographs that were taken today of the Kendrick and Groff Park playground surfaces. Those were built in 2021 and 2019 respectively. They have cracks. They are degraded. They have spots where there is free crumb rubber sitting on the surface, sitting on playground equipment. That is going to be eaten by kids. And I mean, please do not use this. And Kathy, if you could please share those photos with the rest of the committee, I'd really appreciate that. Every single possible thing that you are going to put on the playground surface, and for that matter, this entire project, I will remind you, is going to require maintenance. So what was included in the packet, it tried to indicate that Corkine has some like wild maintenance schedule. That is just wander around some rubber pip sites. It's the same thing. The maintenance is the same. Okay, so please don't use a petroleum-based product that is going to cause exposures and risks to our kids and to our environment. Please stick with Corkine. Put in the legwork now. Get it done. We will not regret it. We will be the better for it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Maria.
can I do on a totally separate thing? I know you don't answer questions, but Ksenia, you mentioned that talked about some accelerated dollars amounts, and I'm wondering. It wasn't clear to me because things were zipping by. Was there any money used out of that bucket of money that's there to speed things up if we needed to because of the delay? Was anything used this past month? I just want to confirm that if you could, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. So I think that concludes the meeting, and to the extent people would like, when we go through the invoices, additional detail read out, we'll get it read out next time. These invoices fly by our eyes a bit, but they're quite remarkable, the level of information we're getting on a regular basis. So I want to thank the team for that, and also for keeping this all on schedule. So I think, unless I see any hands go up, we have an agenda for next month, and I'll see you in about a month. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. If someone will second it, I'll just quickly go around the room. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I am a yes. Mike?
Agreed.
Simone?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Angelica?
Yes.
Paul? Paul may be gone. I know he's on vacation calling in, and Alicia.
Yes.
We are adjourned. And just so you know, the council started doing this just to make sure that people knew the meeting was over and had consent to it. We are adjourning ourselves. We are adjourned, and I will see you all next month. And thank you all for participating in this conversation. I think it was, as Jonathan said, a very good one. Thank you. Goodbye.